Welcome, everyone that can hear the sound of my voice, to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we venture our petty and ill-informed opinions about a variety of topics. Hilariously, tonight, Nikki promised me she would be here, and Tom swore blind he wouldn't be. But I am joined by Tom, and Nikki is nowhere to be seen. So,
Well, that's not quite what I said. I said I wouldn't be likely to make it, and you said, "So we'll see you at 11 then." I said, "Yeah, probably."
now I said, "Is this definitely can't make it, or it's not likely?" And you said, "Not likely." So I said, "Yeah, I'll see you at 11."
Yeah.
That's. I'm just like a genius. I can see these things coming from a mile away.
Well, I do have quite a precedent of this, to be fair.
Yeah, this is your MO, as they say in police jargon.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. Yeah. How are you, mate?
I am righty dokie. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I've got a fair bit of schoolwork to do later tonight. I've got a big chunk of stuff I need to get done, but that's okay. Um, all is well. I can't complain. It's I've had such a good start to the term. Really, there's still a ways to go. There's still some more things I need to be doing the job properly. But overall, things are working out nicely. I've got such a lovely team this year. They're so kind and compassionate. They work so hard for the kids. They work very hard for me. They're lovely people, and it's one of their birthdays on Monday, and I'm going to be making annoying sounds shortly when I wrap her presents from all of us. And another of our team, it's her son's birthday, and we've clubbed together to buy him this lovely car. I'll talk about that in a minute because I'm really excited about that. And it's I had a meeting with the school's principal. Her name's Angela, and she doesn't demand, she expects a lot. She has very high standards, but she is very understanding, very reasonable, and a very good person. And I have met with her to talk about what I want to achieve this year in all my various roles, the different hats I wear, leading online safety, leading values-based education, and being a classroom teacher. And she was like, I'm used to people saying, "So when's this going to be done by? When's this going to be done by?" But instead, I'm putting all these deadlines in, and they're like, "Slow down, give yourself more time for these things." Like, what? I mean, I definitely made the right move becoming a special needs teacher because my face just fits there. I don't know if any of you have ever had a job where what? It does. I get on with people. It's good. What's your problem?
I'm glad I work with special needs people. My face fits there. I'm going to hell.
Well, I've got
sorry.
I've got special needs. I've got ADHD, and
that's not a real thing. It's not the same as autism.
What, you think they're made up?
I think, ADHD is definitely made up.
Well, I definitely experience the world differently to some neurotypical people I know. That's for damn sure. And many people.
Please do tell.
Well, you just.
Oh, all right. So I have.
What?
No, carry on. Sorry.
Okay. Just how quickly your mind races from one thing to another. Distractions are compelling. It's so difficult to focus on something. Certain work tasks, I would rather be lifting weights. I would rather be exercising very heavily and pushing my body physically rather than my mind. The cognitive load of things like assessments and stuff where you really have to planning lessons where you really have to think hard. I don't find that easy at all. And it's just things take a very long time. Doing anything to do with documents, which is exactly that I've got to do later. I've got to look through all the kids' maths assessments, see what they can do and what they can't do. I've got to, I'd be really sensible to take the opportunity to plan out their individual learning journeys and things like that. And that's a very high cognitive load, that task, and it's really quite exhausting. You do physically feel tired after it, more so than if I was doing exercise almost. And yeah, because that doesn't have a, going on a run or lifting weights doesn't have a big cognitive load. It's a physical load, and find that a lot more bearable. So there we are. That's just how I experience it. So can I talk about the car? Or sorry, did you want to comment and diss me?
No. I'm not going to diss you. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. That's how you think. That's how you think. I'm not going to diss you. Gabby, a personality disorder is generally a behavioral thing like narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder. It's not the same as like an actual... Well, I guess it is. I guess maybe it's just a mental illness that they haven't classified yet.
Oh, well.
I know narcissistic personality disorder is often caused by absent parents.
Right.
And the ego forms a protective bubble around it to prevent abandonment, which is what makes narcissists so unbearable to be around.
Well, that word is we're bounced around a lot, and sometimes
yes, it is.
It's
lost all meaning.
Like, so is the word toxic. That word's bounced around a lot, and I don't think that's particularly helpful. I think it's very derogatory, and it can be used to cancel or blacklist a person or an item or a discussion point very quickly when... And that can be too harsh to a person or to a debate or situation. I think I don't approve of that. I don't use that word often myself. It's not very...
Here's a word that's been watered down that annoys me a lot.
What?
Pedophile. That word has lost all meaning because of YouTubers calling each other that all the time. And that annoys me. Because that's a word that shouldn't be just thrown around.
No, I couldn't agree more. That's something to be said. I mean, that's a major crime. It's incredibly traumatizing. It's the highest level of safeguarding issue. Or, maybe aside from someone's life actually being in danger, but you get what I mean. It's not very nice at all. And, well, I mean, just the word, it's not very nice at all. I don't mean paedophilia. I mean, the way the word is, that's beyond not very nice at all. The way the word is used so too casually. I agree completely on this one. Yeah. So I'll talk about this bloody car, if I may. Well, it's on
car?
It's going to be the birthday present for one of my colleagues at work's son at the end of the month. We all club together to buy this thing. It's similar to Lego, and I would say sort of about 95 to 99% as good a quality as Lego. The instruction manual is identical in sort of its quality of its and its easiness to follow. It's the brand. It's Mega Bloks Hot Wheels, but it's Lego compatible. It's that size. It's just you get a lot more value for money. This car is substantially big. It's about 10 inches in length. It's got big, giant rubber wheels. It's called, it's a Dodge Charger, but not official. It's not officially named that, but to all intents and purposes, it is a Dodge Charger, I think. It's got a lovely big engine poking out the middle of the bonnet. It's got NOS cylinders in the back, a little nod to Fast and the Furious, I think, or that whole street racing world. It's not exactly authentic 1970s Dodge. And it's a little pretentiously, there's a page at the front that talks about how one of the Hot Wheels original designers for these cars made it, or he designed it, a guy called Larry Wood, and it comes with that. I mean, here you kind of sense it's overestimating its historical importance, but what do I know? Maybe there are Hot Wheels fans around the world that worship this sort of thing. But it also comes with a little Hot Wheels car itself and a little stand that you build out of this Lego type stuff to sit it on. It's ever so sweet, and it's relatively cheap. I mean, I think a Lego one of these under the official Lego brand would be twice as much for the size of the car that you get out of this kit. And yeah, it's less than 20 quid. I think it's fabulous. And I know that her little lad likes Lego, so I hope that this will go down very well.
Right. Well, that's cool. That sounds amazing. Getting him
really,
a car, a souped up car. That sounds really cool.
Well, I think it is.
Yeah, I'm agreeing.
I'm not big on cars, but I can admire this thing. We've got one ourselves. That's how I know all about it. And I think we may have bought one bought this sort of thing as gifts for nephews and nieces and stuff like that in the past. I'm not quite sure, but I've certainly recommended exactly this model to a handful of people. Yeah, we just really like it. And we've got a couple of them that come with this little miniature car as well, a proper die-cast one, and a little plaque for it to sit on with a little label saying, designed by Larry Wood or whatever. And it looks ever so cute. We sit the pair of them as sitting on the windowsill upstairs. Two of these cars. I'm sure I've got a picture of it I could send to you. Yeah, so it's all fun and games. We're very pleased to see it still available and at such a cheap price. Here it is. I'll send one to you now. There we are. Oh, Gabby, you can have it as well. You can have a look. Yeah. So, yeah, if that comes through, there it is. There's two of them.
1 second. Oh, they look nice.
Yeah. They're just very good value for money, and really enjoyable little toys, full of detail. There's all handbrake, gear sticks, steering wheels, dashboard inside. It's lovely to put together.
So these aren't actual cars; they're models.
Well, what you mean? You can't get in and drive it?
Yeah, because I thought you were getting him an actual car.
Lord have mercy! You did not. I said it was Lego compatible.
Yeah, but I thought it looked like a Lego car. You said, I'm getting him a car. That was your opening statement. So I was like, oh, that's really generous of you.
As if that wouldn't be at all weird, buying my colleague's son a car for his birthday.
Well, Gabby asked if you were trying to fuck his mum. That's a valid question. I mean, that's
What? Lord have mercy. Firstly, we've all paid for this together.
Lord have mercy.
We've all paid for this together.
Oh, Tom, you're using extremely harsh language right now.
We've all clubbed for this together. I give up.
I declare, Thomas, you're being rather uncouth.
I'm not exactly going to go start swearing at people, not even Gabby.
Okay, so it's a model car, not a real car. Okay.
Glad we've established that and made it clear.
I'm not the only one that thought it was a real car. All right, the chat clearly also thought it was a real car.
Well, I've got the chat. Maybe my chat isn't updating properly because I haven't got Gabby droning on about that.
Well, I'm sure, there's a delay. So, SoFlo and Gabby and maybe Rod. Do we? Oh, SoFlo, that was so unhelpful. But do we get Ritz crackers in England? Yeah, we get Ritz crackers. I'm a big fan of Ritz. Just like in the chat, who thought that Tom was talking about a real car? W in the chat.
That's that's SoFlo and Gabby, and that's it right now.
Nah, there's I think Rod's in as well. We've got a small but loyal fan base, and that's why we do it, Tom.
Sometimes it gets
no
on real car. Me.
So Frank thought it was model car. SoFlo thought it was a real car. Gabby floated back and forth. So,
I'm not going to go buying anyone a car for a birthday present. That's thousands.
well, I
of
thought
pounds.
it was weird, but you are capable of it, and you weren't paying for it yourself. You'd all clubbed together.
Yeah, I think we'd on our salaries we'd it'd be a bit weird buying someone a bloody car. No, it's a toy model one. I said it was on my windowsill. How am I going to keep anything other than a model car on my windowsill?
You're the same guy that smashed open a coconut on the side of a school building, Tom. You're capable of anything.
I did that again on Wednesday. I went to go to the canteen and asked to borrow a little plate and a knife. And I went outside, smacked it a few times, started leaking milk. So I put it over a glass, then carried on smacking it till it was mostly open. Took it inside at that point, went to a sink, washed everything, washed it all, and then prized the rest of the bits out with a knife and cut them up put them in a couple of bowls. Gave one bowl to the chef who likes coconut. I said, there you go, you can nibble on that all morning. She said, thanks, Tom. And then I took the rest back to the staff room and ate it, and drank the coconut milk whilst I was doing my work.
See, Tom, opening a coconut is like making love to a beautiful woman. You smack the hairy part until the white stuff comes out.
For heaven's sake.
For heaven's sake. Oh my God, you're being really vulgar tonight.
Well,
all right, I just want to, Lord have mercy, for heaven's sake. Okay, I may have to put in a complaint with Ofcom about your behaviour tonight. It's been rather unteachable.
I don't deliberately come out with these things. What am I going to say next? Goodness gracious me.
If you say that, I'm just going to die of laughter. So, two big news this week. One, EastEnders, real quick. It was a rather uneventful week. I'm not going to get into it. The only reason I'm bringing it up was because we had another bloody video message from Lola this week. And I'm just like, dude, we all watched her die. She didn't spend that much time making videos, okay? If the producers of the show are to have us to believe, she spent 90% on her deathbed making videos for her deceased loved ones. It's getting ridiculous. She's dead. Let's move on.
Well, I guess if the producers are in urgent need of something to prop up,
I'm just waiting for Christmas
narrative.
Now. Christmas, there's just going to be this big long message from her. I guarantee it. Yeah, that'll be it, Gabby. She faked her death to fight crime undercover in Hong Kong.
Stranger things have happened. And it's EastEnders, so anything can happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. God, the worst is Hollyoaks. Oh dear, I'm glad you don't watch that at least. That show is so far-fetched, so ridiculous, and so over the top that it isn't even in contention at the British Soap Awards. It's not even ever nominated for anything. It's not even a thing at the British Soap Awards. It's that farcical. I love that. When's the last time you watched an episode of Hollyoaks, Richard?
I've never watched an episode of Hollyoaks in my life.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. I envy you. Hannah and I, for some ungodly reason, watched it for a year or two in the mid-noughties. We watched all the soaps. We watched bloody Emmerdale, Coronation Street, EastEnders, and Hollyoaks. What was wrong with us? Our band Neighbours. That's the only one we still watch, Neighbours. But in...
I used to obsessively watch Neighbours. Interesting fact, when the towers fell, I'd just gone back from college and I'd switched on BBC One to watch Neighbours in the afternoon. And I was wondering why a building was on fire.
Oh. Well, I'll tell you how I discovered the Twin Towers falling down. It was because we were watching The Man Who Fell to Earth, the David Bowie movie. I was watching it with two mates called Bruce and Steph. and I popped out to the shops, and then when I came, I let the film carry on while I was at the shop, and then the lady at the shop said to me, "There's been a terrorist attack," and I thought, I didn't imagine it was anything anywhere near on the scale that it was. Then when I came in, they switched off the videotape of David Bowie, Man Who Fell to Earth, to one of them went to let me in, and then it went to terrestrial TV, and yet there it was. The one tower was still standing, but that was it. Yeah, it was blimey, that was really something. Again, well, even that's a massive understatement. Jeez.
Yeah, that was something. How we get onto this? Neighbours, Twin Towers.
Neighbours. That's how. Through Neighbours. It's all Neighbours' fault.
Something else, something rather amusing that happened today.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with my brother, as I do on a Saturday usually.
Yeah.
And he was like in a really good mood. And he said, "Oh, I've been eating really well this week." I'll tell you this, Tom, that my brother eats nothing but crap. So I assume that means he had a vegetable this week. And then he says, "My 6-pack's coming in." And he lifts up his shirt to show me. And it was like jelly. You know, when you pour jelly out, it was just like...
I wouldn't imagine you corrected him in the gentlest of terms.
I burst into laughter.
Exactly.
And said, "I can see where you've coloured it in with a felt tip pen."
What, coloured in his 6-pack?
Yeah.
I don't think he'd exactly done that, but it does sound funny.
That's some good stuff right there.
That's quality.
Nothing else really is going on in my life at the moment.
Right.
I'm living kind of boring life.
Oh god, I know what we could. Boring life. Oh, I don't know. I find you entertaining enough, that's for sure. So you'll have to excuse me. This is a nails on the blackboard moment. I'm ripping the sellotape to wrap one of those presents that I was talking about. Not the car. The car's already wrapped, and in the real car, the proper car, the one I drive, it's in that car boot. So,
that's the trunk for our American viewers.
Yeah, that's right. The trunk. I'm just trying to faff with bits of sellotape now. I said, if I said, Richard, that I watched a film a couple of days ago because it was this film's 40th anniversary, would you know what film I was talking about? Okay.
Let me have a think. No, don't.
Okay. I can start dropping clues one at a time.
No. Let me think. I know there's 3 movies that I remember his 40th anniversary was, but it's you. So it's either gonna be The Never-Ending Story or Transformers, isn't it?
Shall I tell you?
It's
one of those? No, it's neither of those. No.
What?
No. Another clue? It is considered in many circles to be the bleakest film ever made.
The bleakest film ever made?
Yep. Genuinely. It was a very low budget BBC production. And it was on the 40th anniversary. It was shown on BBC 4 a few nights ago and is on BBC iPlayer for the unusually short time of just 1 month. But it is there now. One more clue. Okay, it is about what really would happen if a nuclear bomb went off.
Oh, Threads.
Threads it was. Have you seen Threads, Richard?
Well, yeah, I got it right away. So, yes.
Well, I mean, God, it's basically, it is a sinister and creepy film, isn't it? It's as important as it is horrible to watch. Because basically, for the viewers, for listeners, what happens is it follows. It's set in 1984, present day when it was filmed and made. It's in the middle of the Cold War between the US and the West. No, the USSR and the West. The test tensions escalate massively in Iran. The whole New World Order becomes incredibly unstable. The risk of war becomes more and more likely. It escalates and escalates until a nuclear weapon is used by the US on a Russian base in Afghanistan or Iran or somewhere, and then at a military airbase somewhere near Britain is one of many places that are targeted by Russian nuclear warheads. Sheffield goes up under the shadow of a giant mushroom cloud. They depict it exactly as you would expect, and then the real film focuses on what happens next. What happens then? The survivors, the quest for diminishing supplies of food, pitifully trying to grow crops in the middle of a nuclear winter. It's harrowing stuff. It's awful. And it goes forward as far as 13 years where humanity is hanging by a thread, which is, probably an intended pun, because it's called Threads because it's an unusual name for any film, but particularly a film about nuclear holocaust. But it is very good and it's very important. It's the kind of, everyone who's seen it says every world leader needs to see this film, and they do. They all should. Everybody should see this film and know just what would really happen. The people who have got the power with these big red buttons. Because Britain has come so close to, the world has come so perilously close to nuclear war. It's almost a miracle we're all still here. Do you remember when I did the podcast ages ago? The one I did about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Because that was on a Russian submarine that was that had authorization and the power to push the big red button to launch nuclear weapons. On that submarine, 2 of 3 Russian officers were ready to do it, and one said no, and he is the reason that we're all still alive today. If he had have said yes, and the Russians would have launched nuclear weapons, I don't think we'd be here. I think Threads would have happened. Which is
know whose fault it is, don't you?
Who?
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster. I don't even know who Jodie Foster is.
She's responsible for the collapse of Western civilization.
You'd have to remind me how.
Okay, she was in the film Taxi with Robert De Niro.
Yep.
Right? John Hinckley shot President Ronald Reagan in order to impress her.
Right.
Ronald Reagan was only re-elected because he was shot.
Ah.
And he's the one that tore down the Berlin Wall and ended the Cold War.
Right.
So, it's all Jodie Foster's fault. If Jodie Foster hadn't done that, we'd all be living in fear of nuclear annihilation instead of wondering what gender we are.
I don't think we need to bring gender politics or transgender politics into this. We'll save that minefield for another day. God, I'm trying to wrap up this present, and I'm doing a truly abysmal job. God, this doesn't look like a box. It looks like sea mine from World War II.
Yeah, we're not getting into it, Gabby. SoFlo asks, do you think the towers was an inside job? Insofar as it came down to total incompetence on American security, yes. But do I think that it was a planned operation with the Americans' top brass? No. That's giving George
don't.
W. Bush's administration far too much credit.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Well, too much credit. Well, that's what you know. What a friend of mine who's very clever has studied international politics a lot. That she absolutely laughed at worldwide intergovernmental COVID conspiracy theories because she says governments cannot organise a piss up in a brewery between them. It takes a miracle to get them to sit down and
no, they can
agree to a treaty.
That's why they got in trouble during COVID.
Actually, yes.
the reason why it was handled so badly is because they were having piss ups in breweries.
Well, okay, yes. Right. We now need our podcast. Now needs a new name. That was too clever. It was. Well, yeah, you're completely right. They did organise a piss up in a brewery. That was the whole problem. Well, not a brewery, but definitely a piss up. But that was not intergovernmental, was it? That was the government itself. But what I mean is, international governments find it so hard to cooperate on anything. But possibly being in cahoot and organise, and the amount of trust that they would, firstly the motivation, and secondly the trust needed to do that is not there. It's non-existent. So it would not work. It would not have happened. It's just all a bit of a farce.
I mean, what is the motivation to let people fly planes and kill, and not only American citizens but tourists as well? There's just a massive diplomatic shit sandwich. I can't imagine anyone would do that. And why? What was the payoff? So that they could go to war with Iraq?
I was talking about COVID, but both.
Oh, COVID.
But
COVID was just about money.
What? About money?
Yeah, money. Someone somewhere was making a shitload of money off that. Because I've had COVID. My fat, overweight uncle with poor health got COVID and he was fine. He didn't have any of the booster shots or nothing.
Right.
It turned out to be total bollocks in the end. So it must have been about money.
How much of well, I certainly believe that there is. I do have one interesting thing to say about this, I think, but I do believe that it was a genuine virus that was not really. I don't believe it was released intentionally.
No. No, I'm not making myself clear. Right. It wasn't an artificially man-made virus. Well, maybe it was, but it wasn't released on purpose. And it wasn't like anyone planned this. But I think they took advantage of it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the bloody that was that Mona woman. Oh God, that was just the corruption there was unspeakable. When she did that, I can't remember that woman, Mona, someone Scottish lady who was behind this absolute total farce of PPE equipment for the government. I can't remember her name now, Mona, someone or other. But it's all very strange. What I was going to say. The one thing I did notice was
for those of us who don't believe it was a conspiracy, or don't buy into the majority of conspiracy theories about the COVID-19 and things like that. What is interesting is that the official narrative of right think, if you like, maybe for want of a better term, changed. It went from being, from when we were told, it went from being sort of impossible for it to have been a man-made virus created in a lab to that actually being the most likely thing. I mean, the sort of the expert narrative changed on that, which is a very interesting way to think about what we think we know, and what we believe, and what I do think is that the reason all these conspiracies, all these people's willingness to go against sort of standard rational thinking all points to something. People who believe that Trump stole the election, people who, in 2020, people who believe Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin never landed on the moon, people who believe that the American government is harboring aliens in Area 51, people who believe all of the, COVID was a fabrication or was deliberately spread by powers that be. All of these things, it all points to a fundamental distrust in the establishment. And I wish Kevin would have something really interesting to say at this time, actually. So I hope he's able to rejoin us before too long. Bless him.
I miss Kevin.
Yeah, he'd be really good. He'd be better at me with this one about what this points to. But there's just a massive, overwhelming level of distrust for our politicians and our bigger than that, though. The entire state, a massive distrust of the state. Yeah. What do you think?
It's the internet's fault. It's insidious. It's made it so we can't trust anything. Can't trust social media. Can't trust the news. We know too much now.
Right.
And we know we can't trust anyone. So it makes it very difficult when something like the pandemic happens, which, by the way, I do believe it was a real virus. I do believe that it was actually a pandemic. I don't believe it was bad as they were saying, and I believe that people took advantage of it. That's what I believe. I don't believe that planned. I think they just took advantage of it.
I think they did too. I can't remember what kind of. Do you know that woman I'm talking about? That Scottish lady who went to Boris Johnson and said, "Oh, I can get us fast-tracked PPE equipment easily. Just give me billions." And he did. She ordered this stuff. It was crap, and most of it was never used. And she raked in a massive profit. She said unabashedly on TV, our profits were in line with standard profits in business. We acquired 120 million from the government, and 60 million of that was profit. Or something absolutely obscene and absurd like that.
And then they can get away with it. I mean, she did that P&O shit. It was just evil and wrong, and nothing really happened.
Nope.
And P&O is still operating. So they should have gone to jail for that, but nothing happened.
Yep, exactly.
The BHS pension thing, all these and that's the point. We know that if you're rich enough, you can get away with anything, unless the jig is really up, like Jeffrey Epstein. And then the worst that happens is you get killed in prison. Like I doubt sincerely that P. Diddy is going to live to see his trial. Like I'm just going to say that right now.
Well, he knows too much about too many other people.
Yeah, he's going to turn up dead in his jail cell.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. His co-conspirators are going to find a way to get him killed.
And we know about it. And that's the problem. Back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s, before the internet, we didn't know any of this stuff. We suspected, we had conspiracy theories, but we didn't know for 100% sure that this was happening. And now we do know it happened. And we do know that people, that we're just cogs in a machine, and the big cogs at the top can get away with anything they want. And that just leads to disparity because it's totally unfair.
Yeah, maybe we. It's strange though that through knowing more, we know less. For sure. I'll give a really, really good example of that. I mean, this is crazy. Right now, and we've talked about Lucy Letby before, but there are two concurrent opposing narratives that are playing out side by side in the news and the media. One of them is of how insecure her conviction is, how much evidence was circumstantial, how much of it was misrepresented, how many other how data has been manipulated to make it look like there's a pattern showing her guilt, but actually there may not be. I'm not completely sure, but that's one big side of the news. There was a big piece in The Guardian about it at the other day. On the other hand, there is an ongoing inquiry within the NHS about how she was allowed to get away with it for so long, talking about all the people who tried to blow whistles and how they were made to apologize to her, concerns people had, attempts people made to raise the alarm about Lucy Letby because they were very suspicious of her. All of these things saying, why didn't we get her earlier? And the second, for the other piece of the narrative that I was talking about a minute ago is, are we sure we've got the right person at all? I mean, how on earth you're meant to form any sort of opinion about this, I do not know. What I do think though, the only person who will ever really know for sure is Lucy Letby.
Well, I mean, the death rate increased dramatically after they took her off shift. That's all the evidence you need, really. And there was that post-it note in her house that basically said, "I did it."
Well, that's one of the biggest things that points towards her guilt. Yes, it could. However, if it wasn't her, then it's perfectly possible that she could have written that anyway, attributing these things to herself in a state of panic when so many deaths were occurring on the ward. That is not likely, but it is possible. I mean, I think it is more likely than not that she did it. But how much more likely than not? I don't know. I haven't seen all the evidence. I don't know everything. But the
death rate increased. The death rate went down. Sorry, when she was taken off that shift almost immediately. I mean, that by itself means that at the very least, she was so incompetent at her job, she was allowing it to happen.
That's fine. The one I read, I was reading The Guardian earlier today. I'll need to find it. But yeah, it's all very. It's all very, very strange. I've never known anything to so dramatically show how difficult it is to know what to believe these days. Yeah. So where is it? I need to find this. Come on, I need a search. Need a search tab in. Here we are in The Guardian. Lucy Letby. Okay, what you got? Police and CPS handling of case raises new concerns about convictions. Right. Yet questions about the case and the number of experts raising them have continued to mount. So
I mean, it might
At
turn
Lepi's
out.
first trial, the prosecution used a chart which showed which nurses were on shift when babies were allegedly attacked. The chart was presented to the jury to illustrate the central allegation that Letby was the one constant presence. Its use has prompted unusually vocal criticism from leading statisticians. I'm not saying I agree with this, I'm just reading it as the opposing point of view. Playing devil's advocate, if you like. They argue that the charge represents a classic example of the prosecutor's fallacy, in which an investigation starts with only a suspicion and a case is built to support it, rather than all possible evidence and explanations having been rigorously explored. Jane Hutton, professor of statistics at the University of Warwick, said of the shift chart and other elements of the case, "It's a large pile of crockery, much of which is broken. Such a pile does not hold water, however big it is." So there's more and more details. I'd be in for a very long time if I read them all. I'll ping you the article, Richard, in case you ever want to read it in your own time. But it's Gabby. I'll send it to Gabby as well. She might like a read. Yeah, and so I'll just see how it all pans out. I'm not getting involved.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll find out in due course.
We'll find out what both channels of news say about this. You know, the questions regarding the strength of the conviction and the investigation into why the whistle wasn't blown sooner. We will see how they both go. And I'll just keep my eye on the news. I'll read whatever comes out, definitely. Okay. Shall we call it a night, Richard?
Yeah, that seems like a good stopping point, really.
Yeah.
Night, everyone. That'll wrap us up for this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many. Will we return next week? Yes, we will be next. It's a week after. We won't be returning.
Okie dokie.
Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody. Bye.